Stephanie Meyer set off a chain reaction of supernatural, scary, sexy high school boys who happen to be hundreds of years old that, despite their warnings to the main female character, proceed to never leave her alone. I am only just now at the ripe age of 24 reading Twilight for the first time. I only just watched all 4 or 5 of the movies. Yeah, 5 of the movies. I don't know why when things are popular, I just have to like be different and I'll just ignore it. And yeah, for years I didn't even pay attention to Twilight. I didn't care. I knew about like Edward versus Jacob and like all the drama with the movies and all that stuff, but I didn't really care for it. I don't have a whole lot to say about Twilight, especially things that haven't been said. And yeah, this isn't a rant or anything. It's just like me what it was like reading it for the first time. Going into it, I had 3 questions. 1, how is the writing? 2, how does it compare to the movie? And 3, how the heck was E.L. James inspired to write 50 Shades of Grey from Twilight? Yeah, if you didn't, for those who don't know, 50 Shades of Grey literally was a Twilight fan fiction, and then it just got super popular. But before I get into answering those questions, I just wanted to brush over, the vampire lore. Obviously, this is a vampire book. I have to say, I don't like Stephanie Meyer's interpretation on vampires. I don't like how their eyes change depending on the blood they eat, or if they don't have blood, I don't care. The glittering in the sun, I think is stupid. I think it's dumb. Yeah, something else that honestly grossed me out was it's very emphasized how cold Edward is and how he's like cold as a stone. He's literally like a stone. And Bella finds it like attractive. Like she likes his coldness and it's like she wants to touch him. I'm like, I would find that revolting. Like, there's a scene where he gives her his jacket because she's cold, and she puts it on, and she's like, it's cold. I'm like, I'd be so grossed out. It's like, ew. Like, you don't really think about that when it comes to vampires, and I guess, yeah, they would be cold, but it's like, oof. It's very gross. And Bella is a weirdo to me because she likes it. Like, she likes how cold he is and she wants to touch him and she wants him to touch her, and it's just like, I just hate it. It's really gross to me. But okay, how is the writing? It does start off with a Bible verse, and it reminded me how Stephanie Meyer is freaking Mormon. Oh my goodness. But the writing wasn't bad. It wasn't insufferable. It was pretty easy to read. I finished it in 4 days with the help of the audiobook, and I have to say the narrator sucked. She's the kind of narrator that doesn't change her voice as she's reading, and it's like, come on, change it for the different characters, please. It's the bare minimum when it comes to writing, but there's a lot of introspection when it comes to Bella, and we're in her head, but we get to hear how she thinks and like feels about nearly everything, and she's pretty self-aware, and it was something I appreciated because I wasn't expecting it. I was just kind of expecting her to be super caught up with Edward and everything, but there's always a point where Bella is like alone and she's like thinking through her feelings, or like she's kind of ignoring them, but she knows she is. I appreciate it. I appreciated it. It's something that was annoying. It's something I'm finding with a lot of the authors or a lot of the books I've been recently. I guess it's just from the time of like the 2000s or the 2010s, how every other female character that isn't friends with Bella is like an antagonist, is like actively like disliking Bella or just being rude, or Bella doesn't like them. It's just like, there's really no reason for them to do that. Like, come on, let's not make every woman a hater. And then near the end, where like the action starts to pick up, you can say, it is brutal, and it kind of surprised me with how violent and how descriptive the violence is. I'm like, oh my goodness, it was really intense. But I gave it a 3 out of 5. It wasn't a bad read. It was easy to get through. It wasn't a slog. I didn't find myself rolling my eyes at the wording or anything. Yeah, like the description of places and the setting was really nice. But I have no interest in continuing the series and I'm stopping here. How does it compare to the movie? So, in the book, the relationship between Edward and Bella progresses a lot more smoothly than from what I remember in the movie. It really does just seem like they have some kind of magnetic thing pulling them together, because it's just like they just start talking more, and obviously Edward starts popping up places. Yeah, they just start talking, they ask each other questions, and then they're like, Edward's like, I'm your boyfriend now, and then she's like, okay. And yeah, they just hang out and do boyfriend and girlfriend stuff. It's more normal, I feel, than in the movie. Edward is a creep in both the book and the movie. I would say he's creepier in the movie because specifically with him watching her sleep. In the book, they're having a conversation and he's like, since I don't sleep, I watch you sleep. And she's like, what the heck, you watch me sleep? And she's more concerned about like what she says in her sleep. But in the movie, she wakes up and he's freaking there. I'm like, that's terrifying. Him doing that, it's obviously still incredibly creepy and violating, but it's a lot better than startling her awake because he's standing in her room and watching her while she's sleeping. The I know what you are scene doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in the book. That's probably the most iconic scene from the movie, and it's not even in the book. Bella meets Jacob, and Jacob talks about, I forgot what they're called in here, but talks about how they're like vampires and they're not allowed on the reservation, and the Cullens are presumed to be a part of that. And she looks it up and she's like, oh, like, I guess vampires are kind of real. And she just starts asking him questions, and Edward is surprisingly forthcoming about it. He's like, he doesn't, I don't think very outright says like, yeah, I'm a vampire, but he doesn't not say it. So she comes very quickly to realize that he's a vampire, and it's pretty chill, honestly. And then, how the heck was E.L. James inspired to write 50 Shades of Grey from Twilight? So the point in the book, I realized that it's around 276. It's the scene where they're just in the forest together and he shows her how he glitters, all that stuff. But they're talking about, like, he's talking about her blood and how she smells to him and blah, blah, all this stuff. And she's talking about how she wants to touch him so bad, all these things. And I was like, this is why. That scene is like surprisingly intimate and honestly super horny, no lie. And it made me realize that like the appeal for Bella's blood and how bad he wants to suck her blood is like a metaphor for how bad they want to have sex. The wording from like that point on, I noticed, especially when it came to like Edward and Bella being alone, is very suggestive. And it made me remember, yes, Bella, obviously I don't know how old she is, but she's in high school. I think she's a junior. They're juniors. Bella obviously is a virgin. And Anna from 50 Shades of Grey is a virgin. And then Christian Grey talks about like he doesn't want to corrupt her with the BDSM stuff and blah blah blah, all that stuff. So it's like that's a parallel there. And then in this book, Edward is always popping up conveniently to save Bella or help her. And yeah, like the truck, there's like these men that start following her, and Edward comes to pick her up, all these different things. And then yeah, like in 50 Shades of Grey, the infamous bike scene, or I believe 50 Shades of Grey takes place in Seattle, I think, or Portland, I can't remember. But she goes to like Georgia or something to visit her mom, Anna does, and Christian is there. And she's like, what are you doing here? So that's another parallel. And then Edward plays the piano, and yeah, this is just a little thing, but Edward plays the piano and Christian also plays the piano, and they're both very broody and very like melancholy and just annoying, honestly. But yeah, overall, this wasn't a bad read. I didn't have a bad time. There were points where it like felt like I was watching the movie because it was literally like the exact same thing happening. But yeah, it was not bad, and that's pretty much really all I have to say about Twilight. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more of me and hear how good of a singer I am, you can check out my music channel and original music, all under the name of Shy Fighter. Like if you want to like, subscribe if you want to subscribe. I don't know, do whatever you would like to do. Thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you when I see you. Farewell.